Hello, good evening. Welcome back to Leicester Fan TV. This is the Fox's Focus show. We'll be talking about the game against Manchester United at the King Power Stadium. I've got Simon with me tonight. Hello, Simon.
Good evening to you, Jono. How are you, mate?
Not bad. I prefer the weeks now compared to the weekends, which is very odd. But yeah, look, I'm gonna watch the Newcastle game on Sunday afternoon. That'll be my highlight for me for my weekend. All doom and gloom, Leicester, isn't it? Really?
Yeah. Let's try and find some shreds of positivity tonight, so we're not just spending 30 minutes having a damn good moan. But yeah, it's difficult to find something at the minute. I agree with you. Sunday didn't. I mean, whilst, as we know, he changed the system on Sunday and went with the back five and two up front. We touched the ball 3 times in Chelsea's box the whole game. You're not going to get anything out of a game if you're not creating chances.
I've done my maths, and it looks like we haven't scored a Premier League goal in 7.5 hours of football.
Yeah, I mean it's nice full day shift at work, mate, isn't it?
I mean, if you went to work to sat down and did nothing all day, you'd be sacked. You know what I mean? These players the players are rocking up, doing nothing for 8 hours, just conceding goals. If you walk up to a job, do nothing for 7 hours, lose your company money, you tell you why you're not going to be in that company for much longer.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like the creativity, especially out of some of our kind of central and attacking midfield, seems to be drained out of them. You're just not creating anything. And the likes of Vardy, just he's putting a shift in, but he's putting a shift in all the wrong ways. Yeah.
It's just needless running, and there's no finesse, and it's just like I would have thought the penalty save would have spurred on the team just to for something, that kept us, because as soon as that goal went in, we all knew it was over, and him to save that was being like, come on boys, let's get back at this game. It was a great save, and then we're back to what we were again.
It lifted them for a little bit, didn't it? That save, it changed the momentum in the game. Just for a brief couple of 3 minutes, you thought, they've found a shred of positivity to kind of cling on to and start to build on. Bit of a foundation, but I mean, Chelsea we just kept giving the ball back to them over and over again and just inviting pressure on. You watch the tenacity in the way that Chelsea pressed on last weekend, harrying our players down, not giving us any time with the ball. And then conversely, the other way around, we're just backing off and letting them. I mean, when Cucurella scores, he's got a good 2-3 yards around him. No one's closing him down. No one's pressing him, and it's a free hit for him. It's a free hit at goal.
It looks like we were the team that were in Europe during midweek. It looked like we were the team that travelled in Europe, but they pressed all game, high press. We had no chance of getting out. They just suffocated us.
Yeah, they wanted it more as well. Felt like they wanted it more. Like I say, more effort, more pressing, more tenacity, eagerness to get the ball back and do something with it. When we're just sitting deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and kind of regressing towards our own box, and you just sit there watching it, thinking, any time now they're going to score, and it always comes every week.
It does come every week, and I mean, going back to the positives, the only positive I think was Luke Thomas. I thought he had a decent game. I think he's been good the last few weeks, but apart from that, I can't think of any positives really.
Not really, and the bits we're seeing from Buonanotte at the minute look a bit abject as well. It looks like he's had his mojo squeezed out of him. I don't know what's gone on, but the bits he's getting he doesn't look like the player
he was.
No, he's just kind of gone, and he just looks a player that can't wait to get back to Brighton and erase the memories of this season.
I mean, Brighton wants him to come to this season because he might think, right, Leicester are going to be a relegation battle. Let him inspire Leicester to stay up or fight to stay up, and it's just gone horrifically wrong. And I hope his career isn't affected by this. I hope he does play first team football for Brighton next season in the Prem. But yeah, I feel sorry for him because he just put in an effort. He's not like he's just given up, and he just put in a shift, which is the worst part.
Yeah, I mean, there'll be some positives out of this for this season for him. Lessons learned, maybe more negative than positive lessons, but it's all character building longer term. He's a kid, I'm sure he'll have a positive contribution for Brighton in seasons to come.
Exactly. To go for some comments, we could have had Pennant at the back and the coach parked up, still no clean sheet. Yeah, we're just a sieve, an absolute sieve. Seagrave, Hotel Spa, yeah. I mean, everything went downhill since we moved to Seagrave. Apart from one FA Cup while we're in Seagrave, but apart from that, we've not done anything. But Buonanotte has been wasted by Rude. I don't blame him for not giving it all. I mean, he still tries. I don't think he doesn't try. I think he still tries. I think that's
maybe it's a bit of lack of freedom in what Van Nistelrooy is asking him to do that's causing that. I don't know. He used to kind of drift in and out of central positions and wide, and before when Cooper was kind of coaching him and putting him on the pitch, it looked like he had some kind of freedom to go and find some space and create. And that game against West Ham, Ruud van Nistelrooy's first game, El Canous and Buonanotte, that they were feeding Vardy with those balls that he loves to get on the end of, and it looked like that first game that Ruud van Nistelrooy comprehended where our strengths were, and he was going to play to them. But since then, it was like a one-game bounce. Since then, it's just gone increasingly downhill.
I mean, we beat West Ham, we drew to Brighton, ironically. Then we went to Newcastle. I blame myself. I went to that Newcastle game, and we were losing. I think it was 1-0 after the first half. We're like, okay, we didn't play great. As soon as Danny Ward walked on that pitch, we're all like, right, it's game over. 30 seconds after kick-off goal. 30 seconds after kick-off goal, and ever since then, it's just been atrocious. Like, there's been no inspiration. It's been well, yeah, the Spurs game, but after that, it's been rubbish. But we'll have to move on to the United game, won't we? And I can't think of a worse club brand at the moment than Manchester United. I think they're in weirdest luck. They're just lucky they've got a decent enough squad to not get relegated, unlike us.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few things about this weekend that are relevant. Wolves are playing Southampton on Saturday.
Yeah.
So, as we talked about before we came on air, it's quite likely that when we play Man United on Sunday evening, the gap's going to have increased from now. We're going to be further away from safety than we currently are.
Yeah.
Which means that there is an onus on Sunday night to get something, and better than a draw. To try, if there's any shred of belief amongst our football club that we're going to stay in the Premier League, we're going to have to get something on Sunday night against Man United.
We can't lose. I mean, we've been saying all season, this is a must-win. This is a must-win. This is the biggest must-win game in a long time. Because if we don't win, we're 9. Because Wolves will beat Southampton. That's a given. But 9 points clear from the bottom 3 to there is just, it's unachievable. Especially the form we've been in. It's not possible. Yes, we had the great escape before. We were 9 points clear then from safety, but am I correct? We started that comeback earlier on at this point of the season than last time.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about the great escape, that the turn was the January window, and then the couple of signings you made, and then things started to pick up from there. So we were well on the way to recovery by now.
Yeah.
This is going the other way. This is not getting better. This is getting worse for me.
We keep saying how can it get worse, but it keeps getting worse. I
mean, there were people saying after Sunday that they saw some improvements, and yes, he did change it. And I know a lot of us were screaming for him to change the system, and he did do that. But I'll be honest with you, Jono, I didn't see any improvement in the actual performance on the pitch at all.
I think we're all excited because he changed the formation. We had 2 up front. The things with me is you can't change the formation but not change the tactics. We won the Premier League by literally Mahrez has hoofed the ball up to Vardy every time when we scored. That's, we have a song counter-attacking. Why on earth are we not hoofing the ball up as hard as we can to Daka or Vardy and running them down? Where was that?
Well, like I said earlier, Vardy is putting a shift in for all the wrong reasons. They're not getting any service. The pair of them. I mean, Patson Daka, there were periods of the game I forgot he was even on the pitch. He didn't get anything at all. He was just anonymous. And that's not just his fault. He's reliant on the players around him to give him something to get stuck into and try and have an attempt on goal. They got nothing.
Nothing. It's just flat. Like we get excited when we see the players go up the pitch, but it just dulls out before the game gets past the halfway line. Either we lose it or we just stop running and go backwards. That's it.
Yeah, and you see that a lot, and I remember obviously we did that last season under Maresca, but there was a little bit more reason to that, strategy. This season, the midfield players get the ball, there's nothing on, they play it backwards because there's just nothing on. It's not a strategy to try and stretch the opposition. It's just there's no pass, so we'll go back to the keeper.
Yep, and the keeper Hermanson had a brilliant first half of the season. He's not looked right since that injury. He's not looked the same keeper as he once did before the injury. I don't know if obviously you can change the tactics, but you can't really change the tactics of the keeper. Really, he's not making those great saves as he once did beginning of the season. That was under Steve Cooper.
No, I mean he saved the penalty Sunday. It was a great save. It wasn't a perfect penalty. It wasn't in the corner, but he saved it, and it was a very good save. Yeah, go back to that Arsenal game away, where obviously we lost it in injury time. But he kept us in that game. I think he made 30 or 32 saves in that game, and he was just world class. I agree with you. He's lost a little bit of that since he's got injured, and it's difficult to tell whether that is just the general mentality of the squad now, or whether it's him not quite 100%.
No, and it's a shame because I think he's a great keeper, and I think he will go in the summer. I think there's teams like Crystal Palace, Bournemouth, Fulham, those sort of teams which he can get into. Well, Bournemouth keep Kepa, but you know what I mean. But those sort of caliber of teams that he can slip into will happily have him. John says Man United are there for the taking, massive chance if results go our way. I mean, we said we thought we could be the only team who took advantage of is Spurs. I can't think of another team who took advantage of when they've been poor, and don't think we'll get anything from the game on Sunday. I don't. I can't see us scoring another goal this season the way we're going.
No, and it'd be interesting to hear from anyone watching if they've got a different point of view. If they do believe that we've got the ingredients to get 3 points this weekend, I'm sure the pair of us, nothing would please us more than for that to happen. But it's difficult to build a case for it right now.
Yeah, with a court of law, bring up evidence to prove your point. Then, but otherwise, we're gonna be sad. But going into the game on Sunday. Now, I don't know if any of you have watched the interview with Gary Neville and Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Anyone seen that?
I caught bits of it. I've not seen all of it, but I caught bits on the news.
Very, very good interview. Now, Gary went hard on him. He didn't just swerve away from questions. He went at him, and hats off to him because an owner being interviewed is not a common thing. I think a club under such scrutiny having this interview is quite, a big, hats off to him for doing it. But it just showed how I've taken away two things away from the interview. I wish our board was as open as they are. I mean, their club is being run horrifically. They're doing an awful job, but he's open. He said, we are going to increase the ticket prices. We're doing this for this reason. Even though it might not be the correct thing, our board have just said absolutely nothing about anything for ages. Why have they increased ticket prices? Why are they doing, what I mean? Why are boards so quiet about everything and stop posting propaganda posts saying from the owner, we believe we can stay up? Why not communicate with us about the issues that we're having?
Yeah, I think we touched on this last week, Jono, that the only time there ever seems to be a statement from our club is when he's in the programme notes, when the chairman, and I would assume someone in the media team at Leicester City is writing that for the chairman, and then he's proofreading it or changing little bits or whatever. But that seems to be the only outward communication to the fans. I mean, the good thing for Man United fans about this, is that Sir Jim Radcliffe has got enough balls to get in front of a camera and explain his decisions, because there are some really odd things going on at Man United that are completely against the culture of what you class to be a standard football club. He's kind of breaking the mould in a quite controversial way there in terms of some of the decisions he's making. But at least he's got the gumption to get in front of a TV camera and justify his own decisions, and he deserves some respect for that.
Absolutely.
And I think as fans this season, we're owed those sorts of explanations from our board. You know, why have you made the decisions you've made this season? Why are we in the position that we're in now? Because there's lots of talk around it. You know, Radio Leicester and the other media channels that surround Leicester talk a lot about it, but nothing comes from the club.
And we don't care. Like, Man United fans are obviously pissed off the fact they have to pay more and take advantage, and the right, you know, we have the right to protest. And, you know, taking meals away from your staff is obviously a horrific thing to do. But yeah, communication. They understand. They see how the, you know, and it's not. I don't think it's his fault. I think it's obviously the Glazers' fault that they've got no money and he's trying to sort out all these problems. But another thing that really stuck to me was they were saying that to save money, they took £40,000 away from the Players' Trust. So that's the players who played in the 70s and 80s and so forth. So they give money to them. And then Gary said, why can't you do a charity game, or why can't you do you know, selling some shirts or having a meal or anything like that just to raise some money? He went, oh, that wasn't raised. And he said, why wasn't that brought up? And now that made me think how disassociated these people are in charge of these clubs are from the fans. And this is Manchester United. This is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and they are getting it wrong. What is it like behind closed doors at our club? How are they like in their own? This scares me to death, because if they're openly admitting that they've not thought about these simple ways of raising money to pay their staff's fucking meals, why can't our owners hear our voices? What are they thinking?
Well, when I was a youngster, there used to be a thing called a testimonial, and when a player came to the end of their career, within a couple of months of them retiring, the club would put on a testimonial game. All of the gate receipts from that game would go to the player, you know, and it was a thank you for service, basically, from the fans and the club, in terms of, here's a bit of a pension for you. I know players get paid a lot more money now than they did, but what we're talking about now is we're talking about a fund for players that played 30, 40 years ago in an era where you didn't earn enough money to see you right for the rest of your life. And when you finished your football career, you had to go and find a job as a brickie or a milkman or whatever and go and work for the rest of your life.
Like,
you know,
Danny Simpson, not Danny Simpson. Drinkwater, that's it, Danny Drinkwater.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you've got to go and earn some money.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, this is a real bad PR story for Radcliffe and Man United, because if there's any group of people that fans are fond of and remember fondly, it's their former players. And then you want to start cutting their funds, their pension from the club. Really? I mean, you're kind of scoring an own goal, weren't you, in terms from a PR point of view? But he's clearly running that as a business, and he's clearly not got a filter or a concern for controversial decisions that upset or rub fans up the wrong way. And he's also got the balls then to get on to a media outlet and back up those decisions. So, you know, ultimately, Jono, in 3 or 4 seasons' time, if Man United are challenging for the title and they're at the sharp end of cup competitions, all of this by the fans will largely be long forgotten.
It will be long forgotten, but unlike us, Manchester United have got a good enough team to stay in the Premier League. They don't have to worry about relegation. But teams like us, if you get relegated, and this problems keep happening. If you look at teams like Wigan, if you look at Bolton, you can easily slip down, and it's so hard to get back up. Man United is so big, they've got this stature that they're kind of got a safety net, or automatically they won't ever get in the position we are. But a team like us can easily slip down to those cracks.
Yeah, and obviously the money pouring into Man United from gate receipts, merchandise, the machine, their global fan base. It's not just and whilst I respect the fact that Leicester has got a global fan base, it will be a lot smaller than the scope of Man United. I mean, you go any country in the world on holiday and you'll see someone in a Man United shirt. It's a global brand, and if you look at how much they've invested in their squad under Ten Hag, in recent seasons, £500 million. It's not a small amount of money.
No.
They shouldn't be languishing in the bottom third of the Premier League. I absolutely agree with you that they've just about got enough with the likes of Fernandes and Garnacho and the rest of them. They've got enough quality to keep themselves barely in current situation out of trouble, but they are just barely keeping themselves out of trouble. And if you look at their recent results, there's a whole raft of draws in there, and the only two teams they've put to the sword are us and Ipswich Town. Everybody else they've drawn against. So They are, and I don't think their fans would deny this, they are underachieving massively. I think most of their fans thought that when Amorim came in and Ten Hag moved on, because he was clearly a dead man walking at the club and they were just waiting for Amorim to give it the green light, that they'd see a stark contrast in fortunes. That hasn't happened. They haven't seen the bounce. And, let's be honest, some of the things that Amorim said, in the media before, after, and games is a little bit controversial. But, they are going to languish pretty much where they are for the rest of the season by the look of it. But when you talk about the quality they've got in that squad, it's better than ours. Miles and miles and miles better than ours.
It is miles better, and it's frustrating. I think it kind of feels like we're in a utopian world. Like our owners and our board is just in this world where they just they've just told each other lies by saying, "Oh, we've got enough players. Buonanotte is the best midfielder in the world. Vardy's gonna score 20 goals a season. Mats Hermanson's it just seems like they just think we've got the better players than we've got, and it's just
for being as bad as we are, we spent a fair lump of money this summer just gone. It wasn't a small investment. It was clear. Sorry, go on, mate. Carry on.
Who though? Skip. What a great investment that was.
Ayew.
Great investment.
Day Cordova Reed. Skip. Akoli. There was a significant investment, and you would imagine that when they put their hands in their pockets and spent that money, there was a plan in place at the club for retaining our Premier League status. They wouldn't have invested if they'd planned from the summer in terms of, well, we're going back down, so let's cut our cloth by our jib. They wouldn't have put their hands in their pocket for what, to my memory, is 50-60 million quid.
But if you're going to do that, if I want to drive across Europe, I wouldn't buy a 2001 plate Micra, because it'll break down. You know what I mean? You buy the tools suitable for the task.
Yeah, and there we go. Look, sorry, we forgot one. El Canus, of course. How could we forget him? He's probably the one successful story that came out of this summer. There's a chunk of money that's been spent there, and there must have been a plan, Jono, for that to lead to us keeping ourselves clear of danger this season, or else you wouldn't put that money in. But it has spectacularly backfired and gone wrong. And the Edouard thing, I don't even know if he's still turning up for training. Who knows? Because he's nowhere near the matchday squad every week. No. Skip's just wilted this season as the season's gone on, and every time he does get 5 or 10 minutes, there's nothing there to make you think he deserves a start the week after whatsoever. D. Cordova Reed and Ayew are players that were pushed out of clubs that are lower mid-table Premier League sides, and they didn't want them. So they're hardly going to, tear the world up for us. They're squad players, and they were probably signed as squad players, but they've ended up playing quite a lot of football. Of course, the Fatawu injury wasn't foreseen, and that could have had an impact. But the whole thing, they must sit there. You're saying, what are they saying when they're sat there? They must just sit there and think, Christ, we've made a bit of a pig's ear of this season.
And it's not just that. I think going behind closed doors, like there's been so many rumours this season about things happening that we've never heard in any other season. Vestergaard's dog coming into training, the bust up between, was it Akoli or Mavrodidi with Rude? There's one recently about player protests at the training ground. We can't. Well, none of us will fully know if it was true or false, because they can say it didn't happen as a public thing, but we don't know for sure. But why is it that all of a sudden this season, all these little rumours from behind the scenes Leicester are all coming out this season, and it hasn't happened in any other season? And they can't just keep coming out of thin air. Surely one of them must at least be true, or something like that. And it's just how can our club just be turned into rubbish? And it's just dismantled in one season, not just on the pitch, but high in the board and in the training ground.
Well, I mean, someone's clearly leaking it to the media. You could surmise as to who that might or might not be, but player, coach, employee, groundsman, whatever, someone is leaking that out of the club for their own motives. Who knows whether that's financial return or some kind of strategy, or they're feeling disgruntled, so they're talking about things in a public arena to journalists. I mean, I think there's some substance to it, because a couple of weeks ago there was a Telegraph journalist that kind of surmised a lot of what you just said and stuck it in an article in the Sunday Telegraph. So you would suggest that if someone's doing that, there's got to be some substance to it. They're not just going to write slander in the Sunday Telegraph. So there's got to be some substance to it. There's clearly an unsettled camp. There's been quite a lot. I mean, there's other chatter about the players having stand-up rows with some of the coaches during training sessions as well, and disagreeing with what they're being told to do. It doesn't. None of it sounds right. Certainly doesn't sound cohesive, or like there's some kind of unit that's all working towards the same goal.
I think to be honest, I think when Wolves beat Southampton, I think if we lose to Manchester United on Sunday, I think the club needs to start planning for the Championship, and by doing that, I think they need to be taking a hard look at their current staff and their players, and thinking, right, we need to get rid of half of these dead weight people who are running this club to the ground. Let's have a reshape, because if we don't, we're going to keep sinking.
Yeah, I mean,
it's keep happening.
I would have started it a couple of 3 weeks ago. I mean, we're just losing week after week. It's slowly but surely. What is fear is becoming fact in terms of relegation as the weeks roll on. What have you? I'm not sure. I mean, apart from having to pay the manager's contract up, and I'm not sure I would have given him a 3-year contract given his past experience and his pedigree. He's an untried manager. It was a risky appointment in the first place. They've given him quite a long contract. You would only assume, because they haven't sacked him in what is, one of the worst runs the club's ever experienced, that their intention is to keep him for next season and build. But
it has to be. I mean, it might not be the manager's fault. Again, there's so much. This one season is not just the manager that's really bad. Like there's everything else in the background that we don't know of or do know of. That's just putting us in this situation, and sacking the manager isn't going to fix this problem. We can have Pep Guardiola for the rest of the season. It wouldn't improve anything. You can only polish a turd for so much. It's
just on another one there quickly. Look, Golding, we forgot about him as well. The £5 million signing the Golding this summer, which, from what I understand, was some kind of PSR stunt.
It was a PSR stunt to get us to. We sold them Dewsbury Hall. We got Golding, cheap player, just to get our books clear. That's why we didn't get a PSR problems when in the tax year. So.
He played for England under 18s and all sorts. He was, when he came in, he was touted, as a prospect. I mean, that might still be the case. And if we end up getting relegated, the likes of Golding, I would suggest, would come more to the fore next year, as the likes of Samare and Daka and all these others will almost certainly find another club in this summer.
And I wouldn't blame them. When we got relegated, expected Maddison, Tielemans, Harvey Barnes, those sort of players to leave because they're too good to play the Championship. But players like Vardy stayed because they believed in the club, and at this moment in time, I don't blame any player for wanting to leave Leicester, because why stay in a sinking ship when we can get
Yeah,
better escape?
I
You
mean,
know what I mean?
why stay in a sinking ship when you can bail and get
Get the
decent
freedom.
money? And well, because you're partly culpable for creating the sinking ship, maybe, Jono, as a
I mean,
player. I mean,
as a player,
ultimately, the players are culpable, aren't they? They're the ones that are going out there and losing every week, and yet they're the ones that can walk away at the end of it and go, right, thanks very much, thanks for all the money you've paid me. I'm off to wherever, some sunnier place to play in a top flight league somewhere else. Meanwhile, us fans,
we're stuck.
we're sat watching the results of their labour, which this season is awful. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think we can't just keep blaming the board and the manager and all that sort of stuff. The players have been awful, and no matter how poor the manager is, you're not putting a shift in. That no matter how much tactics they've thrown at you or training, you're not putting a shift in yourself. And again, it's not good enough as a player. It's not good enough. And there's only one player in my mind who could hold his head up high, and that's Vardy. I think that's it. I can't think of any other player who can do that.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago we played West Ham away. I think it was a Friday night, and I watched it on the TV. And I think Robbie Savage was on commentary, and Neil Lennon was doing the punditry on the sideline at half time and what have you. And the pair of them said similar things. You can be short of the standard in terms of your quality as a group of players, but you can make a lot of that up with effort, application, determination, tenacity. You can breach the gap if you want to. Now that doesn't need coaching, surely.
No,
A player doesn't need being told to try their best, surely. And I don't feel as fans, sorry, that we've really seen that all the time this season. We've not seen, if we were sat here now and we were saying, that group of players has given every morsel of their body to try and keep us up, but we're failing. It's difficult to criticise that because they've done everything they can. But I don't feel like they have. I'll be honest with you. I don't.
Devin, I know this is a different caliber of club, but look at Nunez at Liverpool. Look, Nunez is scrutinised for his finishing. He can't finish. He's so bad at finishing. But the reason why people like him so much is because when he comes on, he runs for every second he is on. Every second he's chasing every ball, every run. He's running with the ball up and down the pitch, and he's putting 100%, 10% in every minute he's on that pitch. And the Liverpool players rate him so high because he puts every ounce of energy on that pitch. We have no player that does that. No player that puts in that amount of energy for 90 minutes, really.
Vardy, I'm with you. I don't think I'd ever level going out there and not giving it all to Vardy. Obviously, his age and time is catching up with him now a bit, but he's not even feeding on scraps. It's a famine in terms of what he's being supplied. It's an absolute famine, and he's running himself in the ground for bad reasons. Yeah, for bad reasons. Not trying to get us a goal. It's trying to stop the others from scoring half the time.
It is really bad. It's just not good. It'll be nice to offload a lot of these players that are being paid too much, and we can get their wages cut. Structure where Rookin is not involved. Yeah, I think Rookin is one of the sole people everyone's putting their blame to, and again, we don't know who holds responsibility, what decisions these days. But if the business side is doing really well, Top's job, but the football side, Rudkin, his job is doing really bad. That's where all your blame's going to go, really.
Yeah, but it's hand in hand, isn't it, Jono? Because if your football team's playing badly, your fans ain't spending money in the club shop. They're not turning up for games. There is empty seats around the ground. Tickets will be going on general sale and all of that business because people are starting to think, do you know what? They're not trying or they're not putting the effort in, so why should I bother turning up? And whilst I'll always turn up because I'm not like that, there are a portion of fans that will think, no, why should I? And if your team and your ethics aren't right from a football side of things, that has a roll-on effect into your financial side of things. Absolutely, it does. You can't sell your players for any money because no one wants them as well.
Well, there we go. Look, the players are demoralised week after week, playing the same way and not scoring. Human nature. They have about giving up and what they have been asked to do, change formation, new mentality. Which we changed we changed it the weekend. Didn't do anything. Did nothing. It was the same team we were the week before. Did nothing. We could talk about this. We could talk about this forever. But we'll go into score predictions. 3-0 United done.
That was quick. That was really quick.
Pro-
I mean, given the fact that you alluded to that we haven't scored for what is virtually a full working day.
7.5 hours of Premier League football, we have not touched the back of the net.
Yeah. I mean, surely just by sheer law of averages, we've got to score at some point. Surely.
I mean, if you're a betting man, your bet is not to score.
Yeah, but you can't play that much football surely without scoring. I'm gonna suggest we're going to score. I think we'll get the one, and I think we'll end up losing 2-1.
Well, someone else has put 2-1 to Leicester. I mean, if we beat Manchester United, I don't care if we get relegated. I'm just happy I saw my team win one more game. It's King Power struggling. Thailand, Quintop is running King Power the same as the ones that left. I don't know what the King Power's business as a business itself is doing. I assume it's doing okay because the financial aspect, we've got no debt on the club at all. He's happily paying the money. I don't know.
I've read some articles that there's some cash. There are potentially some cash flow issues within King Power as a business, but I couldn't talk without any. I have read some things, but I'm not an expert. But I've heard rumours that might be the case. I mean, the pandemic. You're running a duty-free business, and you have a pandemic where no one can fly anywhere. It's going to put a big hole in your finances. It's going to take several years to rebuild. You would suggest.
You would suggest, and when a few more years, everyone starts traveling again, stuff like that, and it'll boost up the money. But yeah, I don't want to get too much into the King Power itself. But yeah, I think the club is just ran horrifically, top to bottom, down to the training sessions. But I think we'll end it there. Hopefully we could be more happier next week. But I'm expecting another depressing show next Thursday. Hopefully we score. If we score a goal, we'll call it a positive show again. But appreciate you all for coming back. And we've got we've got Phil's. So you got Jamie's show on Sunday morning before the game. Then if you want to have a rant about how bad we were, you can go on Phil's show Monday evening for the. I forgot what his show's called now. Jesus Christ, I forgot what his show's called, but. Phil's got a show on Monday.
Fan Zone.
That's it, Fan Zone. Well, cheers, Simon, for coming on again. We're not getting bored of talking how bad we are just yet, are we?
We're trying our best. There's one there, look, this from Cole before we leave. The stadium needs to be rocking. Carl, I really hope that the fans, regardless of all of what we've just kind of whinged about for the last 30 minutes, get behind the team on Sunday and try and get some positivity going. Collectively,
it's a must-win, and if we're just sitting down in our seats being, depressed, then the players will feel it. If we're all rocking in our seats, jumping up and down, they'll be inspired. So yeah, if you go into the game, don't just be a miserable sod like I am. Just go up, and But if we concede, then obviously it's gonna be different. But cheers, Simon, for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, Jono. Look after yourself, mate.
You too, and everyone else out there, and we shall see you all next week.